Hey guys, welcome. Federico here. Today we're going to talk about how to create a technical routine that we can use for warming up and improving our playing. Before we start, I need to disclose that it's impossible for us to cover every single technique exercise out there. There are tons of method books that cover all aspects of guitar playing, and I'm sure you will discover all these amazing books as you continue playing guitar. In the meantime, this is what I suggest. We need to find a few exercises so that if we only have 5, 10, or 15 minutes to warm up, that we can use this our go-to exercises in a way that will engage both hands. So which exercises should they be? That's going to be up to you, but I can show you what I like to do. I usually start my session by playing some scales. Why? Because it's great for coordination. I can practice free stroke, rest stroke, and also work on speed as well. So that's my go-to when I just pick up the guitar first thing in the morning. I also enjoy playing right-hand exercises. They give me confidence when I play my repertoire later. So what arpeggios am I playing? It depends on the day. We have so many of them. It could be the Giuliani 120 exercises, the Carlevaro right-hand book, and many others that you will discover. But in the meantime, I will show you the ones that I like. For this, you can play a single chord of your choice, you can mute the strings, you can play open strings, it doesn't matter because all I'm paying attention to is my right hand. And finally, I like to play some slurs for the left hand, for finger independence, for strength, for endurance. And I play them on different strings and different frets because the stretch that I'm doing is different depending on where I am. And also the string tension changes. So for this exercises, for the scales and the slurs, I like to play in different places. To get an idea of what the guitar feels like, especially if I'm just picking up the guitar and warming up. So let's go ahead and try some of these exercises. When it comes to scales, there are many combinations you can use. Minor scales, major scales, octatonic scales, anything you want. I keep it simple. So when I start, I just do chromatic. You can do free stroke, rest stroke. You can switch to major scales. Ideally, you're practicing with the metronome. The metronome, that's a lie, right? So this is a way for you to keep track of how your foundations and your speed as you improve as well. So now it's time to play the right-hand arpeggios. There are 12 combinations that I use, and I'll show you the first 4. So the first 4 start with my ring finger and my thumb at the same time. This is the second one. Next one. And the last one. I also have 4 combinations starting with the middle finger and 4 combinations starting with the index finger. And of course you have access to those exercises, so if you want to play them, those are great. All right, so let's play some slurs now. First, I keep it simple by using, by repeating the same combination a bunch of times. For example, I'm going to go with 1, 2. You can play this on different frets. And then of course you use different combinations. You use 2, 3. 3, 4. In general, you will notice that combination 3, 4, it's the weakest one. So that's the one you should spend more time on. All right. Then of course you can do the same thing with 1, 3. 1, 4, 2, 4. And you can play them the way we just did on different strings, or you can go on a single string and go 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 2, 4, 1, 4, 1, 3, and then repeat on a different string. Again, these are only a few examples of all the many different exercises you can play. Which ones you want to play, that's really up to you. Find the ones that you like. Find the ones that challenge you, and also find the ones that help you play. If you only have 5 minutes, what are the exercises that will help you be ready to perform? Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.
In our last lesson, we learned all about rhythmic values and how we notate both sound and silence. Today we're going to go one step further so we can organize our music a little bit more clearly through the use of measures, time signatures, and pickup notes. So we've learned about the treble clef and the notes on the staff, but the glue that keeps it together is the time signature. So the top number tells us how many beats we're going to organize in a pattern of strong and weak beats. And the bottom number is a fraction that tells us what type of note gets the beat. So because this number is over 4, it's a quarter note. And the quarter note gets the beat in a tremendous amount of music, so it's a really great place to start. So let's talk about this for a second. Some of our most common time signatures are 2/4, 3/4, and 4/4. And 2/4 can kind of feel like a march. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. And 3/4 can often feel like a waltz or a dance. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And I think many of you can call to mind your favorite drummer counting in your band for 4/4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So let's look at some music and count through. In this example, we're in 3/4, so think strong, weak, weak. 1, 2, 3. We're going to keep track of this repeating pattern with a bar line. So this line right here tells us where our pattern restarts. So we're going to start back at 1 right here. So we call these individual blocks measures. So this is our first measure. Here's a bar line, second measure, bar line, etc., etc. Let's take a moment to read through the rhythm. So we have 3 quarter notes, 1, 2, 3. Because of this bar line, I'm starting back at 1. And then right here, we have 2 eighth notes. So remember, we count the first one as a number and the second one as an and. So we have 1, 2, and 3. Another bar line starting back at 1, 1, 2, 3. And we have eighth notes again, so 1 and 2 and 3. Look over that for a moment. I'm going to count you in. Ready? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, 3. 1 and 2 and 3. Now, our last concept for the day is that not all music needs to start on beat 1. And we need to look no further than the national anthem for the United States to explain this. So even though there's a rhythm that we don't understand just yet, I think you'll still get the concept. By not starting on beat 1, we create this wonderful, springy diving board effect where it feels like the music is pushing us forward. We call this a pickup note, and I'll have my lovely assistant Teresa demonstrate.
Oh, say, can you see?
Now Teresa's going to demonstrate what would happen if we force the national anthem to start on beat 1.
Oh, say, can you see?
So now you know how to identify time signatures, how to organize them with measures, and if a measure doesn't add up to the time signature, you've got yourself a pickup note. Okay, thanks so much, and I'll see you next time.
Let's take a look at what's over here on the top tier. Gotta have a jar of capos of different types. Here's a Kaiser clamp-on capo. Instantly clicks on, get it on and off rather quickly. I love this little Diodario Planet Waves. Takes a moment longer to screw on. I prefer the sound of it, the material, the tension, particularly on a steel string. But if I'm on a flamenco, I really have to have an authentic flamenco capo, or cejilla, which is literally made with a leftover tuner, a friction peg, a little piece of wood, a little piece of leather, a little piece of string. And this is secured. This is a very traditional capo. Capos allow us to change the pitch of the open strings, to take a chord progression, a riff, something on the guitar, and transpose it by shortening the strings. Here, by the way, is another type of guitar mute, a much thinner, rubberier one. This is adaptable in multiple heights, because if you use mutes, you do want to be careful to make sure it's high enough to actually mute your strings. Here's the A-Team pile. I love Tropical Shine 4-sided buffers for just kind of a rough sketch on my nails. Then I have a whole pouch of varying grades of nail paper. This is essentially sandpaper, or paper that's used in a lot of different industries other than guitar playing, to sand, to polish, to refine. So I start here at a 2400 and work my way all the way up to a 12,000, which almost feels like rubber. Really puts a smooth polish on your picks if you're just getting into fingerstyle. Can't have my guitar in the desert and play short sleeve without an arm sock. This imitates a long sleeve. This cuts down on the friction, allows me to move much more comfortably across the top of my guitar without any friction from sticky skin. Can't get enough microfibers, they're everywhere. And this little shelf lining paper. Since I use various guitar gadgets to position my instrument up and play a different style of guitar, multiple different ways in which I sit, I almost always have a little piece of contact paper to just put a little bit of friction on my pant leg to help secure that instrument. This is everywhere. The nail bag. Once you start playing with nails, it's not if, it's when you break a nail. And you always need to have ready various ways to repair your nails. So what do I have in here? Various nail glues, various nail acrylic powder, various silk wraps and fake nails to put on when needed, scissors, files, a couple of spare strings, a couple of pieces of sandpaper, and you gotta have a little backup lead for your pencils, because if you're gonna take the time to do your nails, you should also take the time to write in all your fingerings and all the decisions that you make in your scores. Which brings me to my last item here in my studio, which is now a disaster. That is my rat stand, the ultimate classical guitar music stand, the jazz stand, which goes up very high without any kind of annoying little buttons that will break your nails, pivots relatively easily, is absolutely indestructible. It's so adjustable at about any height along the way, and it goes literally that low. It's also very lightweight, and I can adjust it and face it out with a different angle. All these things I'm doing is without using my nails on little knobs or little clickers. The rat stand. That's some of my accessories. What do you have? What did I miss? What accessories did I not show you? What helps you in your pursuit of learning the guitar? What helps you study music? What helps you concentrate? I started by saying the room. I have a humidifier. I have lights positioned in front of me. I have a good chair and I have a good cushion, and I'm ready to get some practicing done.
Music at its core is a tool for communication, and it is so much more effective as a tool and so much more interesting to play if from the beginning we're putting in a lot of imagination. So how do we go about doing that? So our four basic tools that we have to use in music are volume, which we call dynamics, articulation, phrasing, breathing, and finally color. Each one of these really deserves its own segment. So for today, we are just talking about dynamics. First of all, let's learn the commonly used terms for the words quiet and loud in music. So in music, we tend to use words from the Italian language. So when we're talking about a loud sound, we call it forte. When we're talking about a quiet sound, we call it piano. So to execute a piano stroke, we just don't put quite as much force into the string. The trajectory of our finger is the same as always. We push through, we come to rest on the next lower string, release the tension, and we've executed the stroke. So I'm going to play a few right now, all with my index finger. So I'm really getting to feel the sensitivity of how much weight it takes to play that note. And I'm going to go very, very slowly because I want to listen and be able to reflect on what I just did and what I might want to do differently the next time. So I'm going to play a note. That's all right. I could probably play it a little quieter and you would still be able to hear it. I'm going to try that. That might be about as quiet as I could do it without you not being able to hear me. And that matters, right? So we want to work on our range, but we always want it to be audible. Now, the opposite side of piano, quiet, is loud, forte. So now we're going to try one where we put more energy as we push through the string, and we're going to get a note that sounds forte. Stroke, the swing of my finger, you can't quite see it, the swing of my finger is exactly the same for a piano note as it is for a forte note, exactly the same. I just push a little harder as I go through the string. So I play another one, forte. Notice I'm keeping my thumb planted as I'm doing this. Just keep your hand really still, focus on quality technique. So those are pretty loud. Now, could I go too loud? Starts to get not quite as beautiful. So just watch out for pushing a little too far beyond what your guitar can do, which particularly happens when you come in with fretted notes. If you push too hard, we get sometimes a little bit of a rattle. So we know piano, we know forte. There's another Italian word I want to show you right now. It's called mezzo. Now, Italians everywhere, plug your ears. You're going to hate my definition, but my best definition for the word mezzo is kinda. Piano means quiet. So mezzo piano means kind of quiet. In other words, a little bit louder than piano, right? And if we put that word mezzo in front of forte and we say mezzo forte, well, forte is loud, so kind of loud. It's a little bit less than loud, right? So if we were to put the four dynamic indications on a scale, we start with piano here at the bottom. We have mezzo piano. It's kind of quiet, but not as quiet. We have mezzo forte, kind of loud. And we have forte, which is loud. So now we have four dynamic levels that we kind of understand what they're supposed to be. And if we think about them, each one gets gradually louder. There's another Italian term for that. It's called a crescendo. So the idea of gradually getting louder is called a crescendo. The idea of gradually getting quieter is called a decrescendo. So let's figure out how we do that. We're sticking with just one finger, again, for now. And what we're going to do is just four notes, just the index finger on the first string, nice and slow. The first one is piano. The second one is mezzo piano. The third one is mezzo forte. The fourth one is forte. I'm going to try it once. Let's see how I do. It's all right. My hands are freezing right now. Maybe if I tried it a few more times, each one would get a little bit better. But this is the idea. You have to start somewhere. What's very common is that sometimes the first note is too loud. Ah, shoot, I sort of forgot I'm supposed to be quiet. Or that we have one note that's quiet and the next note is suddenly too loud. So you have to practice this. There's no way around it. You have to practice. And my dog agrees. Benny says, practice. So how you develop this? First, you master a crescendo with one finger. Then you master a decrescendo with one finger. Then you master going up and down in one fell swoop. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 3, 2, 1 with one finger. Once you're good at one finger, then you try the next finger. Then you practice them in alternation. Then you practice any pairs, combinations that you think are interesting. And ultimately, you have to start incorporating this into your music. Let me share an example of how you could incorporate this into a simple melody. You might just be doing single line melodies right now. That's fabulous. Even simple melodies need dynamics. So here we have Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. Maybe you've already even learned it. Starts on a G string. Next note, D on the second string. E, open E. Back to the D, walking down natural notes. C, B, A, G. So those are the notes I'm playing. Now, is a great place to start with imagination. Start is just kind of follow the line of the shape of the line. So if the melody goes up, we can crescendo. If the melody comes down, we can decrescendo. Just a place to start. Not every melody does exactly that, but if you're looking for an idea as a starting point, that's a great one. So, boring way is all notes equal. Competent. Fine. Not interesting. Let's make it more interesting. We start a little quieter, we get louder, and we settle back as it comes home to the note from which it started. We think of dynamics as an expressive or musical tool, which it is. But ultimately, its execution comes from solid technique. So start working now, from the beginning, on your imagination and your ability to execute it. Enjoy.